So we created this project, this Expo project. Before we run it now, I want to open the created project in an editor that allows me to edit the code in a convenient way. Now you can use any code editor you want. My recommendation is Visual Studio Code, which is an amazing free code editor that's very extensible and fun to use. You can download it for all platforms, and I already do have installed it for Mac OS. Now with VS Code installed, you can open it, and you might see a welcome screen if you installed it for the first time. You can simply close that screen, and then you should see something like this, where you can open a new folder. Alternatively, you can always go to the menu, File, and find Open on Windows or Open Folder on Mac OS there. And then if you click that, it will open such a file picker where you can now select that project folder you just created. So here I'm selecting this RN course folder, which I created before, and I'll open this in VS Code. So here I got this Expo React Native project opened up, and you can of course configure the visuals, the way VS Code looks, however you want. By going to View Appearance, you can hide or show the sidebars, the status bar at the bottom, and you can also go to Preferences and then choose a color theme that suits your needs. I'm using the Dark Plus theme here. So you can configure this editor however you want. But what was created for us here? Well, we see actually not too much. We got two folders, Expo Shared and VS Code, which we can ignore. VS Code just holds some settings I configured for this workspace here, and Expo Shared simply just holds some internally used information. The assets folder will become important later because we can store images there, for example, the icon of our app, but also images which we use inside our app. And we got the Node modules folder, which holds all the third-party packages that are used under the hood. We got a package.json file, which lists all the dependencies of our project here. And here, for example, we see Expo, because Expo is not just the command line interface, it's also a JavaScript package which we can use and which we will use heavily, as you see, because it gives us many utility functionalities that make writing React Native code easier. But you also see we're using React, React DOM, React Native, and React Native Web, though again, that's not the focus of this course. You could build web apps with React Native, but support is a bit clunky, and yeah, we're simply not focusing on that because you could just use React itself if you want to do that together with React DOM. React DOM, of course, therefore is also just here because of React Native Web. So that's what we have here. We also got a couple of script commands which we could execute with npm. But overall, there's nothing fancy in here, and you know these kinds of files if you worked with React before, which you should have because this course assumes that you have React and JavaScript knowledge. So that's the package.json file. Package log is related to that, and the Babel config.js file just configures how code is transpiled under the hood, and unless you know what you're doing, you also shouldn't change this file therefore. Now we do have the app.json file, which will become important later because here we can configure some settings and behaviors of our React Native app. And this is a file that will be picked up by Expo when our app is built for preview or for the actual app stores. We can set the name here, we can set some background colors here, and we will come back to this file occasionally for configuration. So this is a file which we have because we're using Expo. And then we got app.js. This is the only real code file we have in this starter project. The exact content could change over time. To make sure that we're all on the same page, I attached my app.js file to this lecture so that you can download it and replace yours with it so that you have the same code as I have it, because we'll build up on this code in the next lectures. This in here is a regular React component which uses special components, special JSX elements exposed by React Native. That's what I mentioned before. And then we got some styling, which could look a bit weird, but I'll come back to how styling works in React Native apps later. So for the moment, this is our app code. And now it would be nice to see this code in action. For this, we need some device on which we can preview it.